get started. Hello, everyone. So a very warm welcome to the University of Geneva. My name is Marlene Sahakian. I am a sociologist. I work on sustainability issues. More specifically, I work in this field of unsustainable consumption. And I have the pleasure of directing this master's program, which sits in the sociology department at the University of Geneva, but is quite an interdisciplinary program, of course, since we are treating questions related to sustainability. So how many of you are already at the University of Geneva enrolled in a bachelor's or otherwise? 1, 2, okay, all right. And I believe that this year we also have recorded the presentation, so it can also be viewed online later for those who might want to, who might not be physically in Switzerland. So the Sustainable Science and Social Change, or SASCHA program, is really about reflecting on the role of society in supporting some kind of transformative social change. So environmental issues are the backdrop. Environmental, social issues, etc., are the backdrop against which we try and understand in this program how do we change systems of provision, supply chains. How do we work with the private sector? How do we rethink the way our economies are organized? How do we shape different forms of governance? Welcome. We're just getting started. So I was just saying that the master's program sits in the sociology department and has this approach to sustainability, which is about trying to understand social change dynamics, how societies are organized, and the program has two components. We do use concepts and theories, but we're always applying them to see how we can really practice change and think about, real-world solutions. So we try as much as possible to bridge theory with practice and develop soft skills, which I'll tell you more about in a moment. In this study plan, all of the specialized master's programs at the University of Geneva require 120 credits. And in this program, you have quite a few free electives, which students can do, for example, on a semester abroad. Many people can fit the full program of required electives within the first year. I don't know what happens. Others choose to let it play out over 2 years. Sorry about that. Je sais pas ce qui se passe. Bon, okay. It has a mind of its own. This is what the course program looks like. All of you, if you get accepted in the program, you join me at the beginning of the fall semester for an intensive class on what is sustainability, what are the concepts, and what are the critiques we can bring towards sustainability. This intro class is very much based on recognizing that sustainability is a complex issue and it can be apprehended in different ways, and that these ways can be contrasting. So one example is the idea of the green economy versus the idea of degrowth. And how do those two concepts of sustainability sit together, or how are they in conflict with each other? And so that's what we do together in a class that starts mid-September and ends around mid-October. Then you have a series of classes that are really about actors and social change dynamics. So what is the role of regulation and standardization? What is the role of organizations, of governance? The nature, labor, and capital class is very much about an ecological economics perspective. Then there's a course on supply chains and corporate citizenship. So those are all thematic. You then can choose between a series of elective classes on global health, on human well-being, which is an emerging and important theme in relation to sustainability. And then in the spring semester, you have quite an intensive workshop where we ask that you reserve parts of Thursday and Friday for this workshop, and where we bring in partners who propose topics for you to work on, and much of the work that we do in that workshop, Peter Larson and I teach this workshop together. He's an anthropologist, I'm a sociologist, and it's about recognizing how solutions to sustainability issues don't just, appear like this. First, you have to really understand the problem. So it's based on ethnographic methods, field work, getting to understand a problem so that you can then imagine solutions. So that's the Sustainable Consumption and Social Change workshop, in which you get qualitative and ethnographic methods. But you also have another block of methods in one class called quantitative methods, which not everyone is crazy about, but it gives you good fundamental, if you're going into the job market, to be able to be familiar with these methods is definitely a good thing. And then I also teach a class on participatory methods, which is an emerging methodology or posture when it comes to sustainability, how to engage different stakeholders in the processes of thinking about change. I'm talking a lot about my classes. If the other teachers were here, they would tell you more about theirs. But if you have any questions on any of the classes that are up here, let me know. So another thing I try to do across this whole program of classes is think about the key competencies that you're gaining. So there is a literature on this that says for people interested in working on sustainability in higher education, we should be giving you the ability to think from a system perspective, have analytical skills, anticipatory skills, to plan, to project. So we make sure that across your program, you're gaining these skills, and we do it through the thematic and methodological courses that I've just reviewed with you. That spring workshop culminates in this kind of a moment. It takes place across the lake at a place called the SDG Solution Space. So downstairs, you're in this very open space with a kitchenette and coffee and lounge chairs and all this kind of fun stuff. And it's in that space that we do this workshop on sustainable consumption and social change. And it ends with this kind of a moment on the rooftop where, with our partners and our students, we present the results back to the partners like the City of Geneva, the Canton, etc., who have given you an assignment for that semester. So that's quite a fun moment after all the hard work of the spring. We have an advisory committee, and these are people from the public and private sector that advise us on how the program is designed. And one of the feedback that they gave us 2 years ago was students entering in the workforce, they need to know about sustainability, they need to understand that it's a complex problem, etc. But they also need to know how to work as a team. They need to have negotiation skills, networking skills, communication skills, etc. So we've hired someone who comes in, and as part of your first semester, you get this kind of soft skills training as well. And it's quite nicely done, where you have a morning on how to network, and then at lunch, you meet members of our advisory committee who all work on sustainability, and you network with them. It's like a 1-hour event, but it's still a nice moment. The scientific committee is made up of professors and students, and these students also play a role in evaluating the applications that come in every year for the new cohorts. And as I said, we have an advisory committee. It was important for me that the program stays relevant. So just to give you an idea, the last time we met was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I asked them, what's going on with the sustainability agenda in your organizations with, the growing climate that we're seeing coming from the United States, the fact that the US has banned the use of certain words, how is it affecting you? And some of them were saying more and more, we're not talking necessarily about sustainability, we're talking about risk management. And that's the way that we are addressing questions related to sustainability. So it's interesting and important for me to hear from them how sustainability is evolving in the professional realm, assuming that some of you maybe will go on to do a PhD, but maybe most of you will go on into the professional realm. They also told me that the use of AI is now almost a given, which I was really, a bit sad to hear, because I don't know that the energy usage of AI is maybe under-problematized, to be discussed. The program used to be called StarEgg. It was created some 10 years ago in partnership with the International Organization on Standardization. And standards, social regulations are still an important part of the program, but it's more a course now rather than coloring the whole program. And we still work with ISO in terms of inviting their guest speakers, they're on our advisory committee, etc. I do feel that the Sasha group really is a community. We do a lot in the first semester to create a sense of community around people that are coming from around the world. This year we have a student from Japan, China, from the United States. So how to bring everyone together. We have sort of an internal page to communicate with our network. We have a LinkedIn page for alumni. And we have WhatsApp also. This is a study that was done some time ago. It probably needs to be done again, but there was quite a high level of employment after leaving the program. So some go on to do PhDs, but many go to international organizations, private or public sector. It's a program where you also have the possibility of doing an internship-based thesis, and this can sometimes be a stepping stone also towards future employment opportunities. I said a little bit about the backgrounds. Really, this enriches tremendously the discussions that we have in the classroom, because people are continuously bringing experiences from elsewhere into our discussions. It's preferable for you to have a social science background, but we also look at people who may have an environmental studies background and have a sufficient motivation that shows why they want to now be in social sciences. We're quite open because we, again, believe in interdisciplinarity. So one of the things we look for is a strong letter of motivation so that we can understand why you're interested in this program and not another. Good grades. Professional experience is a plus, but it's not a must-have. English proficiency is a must. What else? We look for diversity in terms of background, gender, etc. We tend to be skewed more feminine. I don't know if it's, people that identify with the feminine gender are more interested in sustainability. I don't know, but that tends to be a trend. And your applications are evaluated by this advisory committee. Geneva is a great place to be studying sustainability. We are in a canton or state that veers more to the right and a city that veers more to the left. So at the same time, you have, the banking industry and all this, but you have cooperative housing. We are experimenting for the first time in Switzerland Une Caisse Alimentaire, which is a solidarity fund for local and sustainable food. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on in Geneva, and we usually try to take you to visit the CODA building, cooperative building in La Jonction, or just introduce you to some of these innovations that are happening on the territory. So that's it. Yali Chen is the academic advisor. She will be arriving shortly, or you can also contact her independently on more technical questions. I'm more for the program content and that kind of stuff. And then there's the generic email as well, which all of us get. So that's it from me, but I would love to hear from you what questions you have and why you might be interested in this master's program, anything you want to ask or share. Very welcome to.